I'm 22. Happy birthday to me, I guess. Today is my birthday. I'm 22 years old, and the show is 1 year as well. And today we're going to have a very special guest, Kimberly Klacik. I know many of you love her, and she's in high demand. So many wanted her to come back on the show. And so I invited Kimberly to celebrate. My birthday with me. She's also a good friend of mine. So this conversation you're going to watch is going to be so fun, just lighthearted and relaxed and things like that. I'm just so happy and I'm so grateful. This year has been so lovely and wonderful. And it's just challenged me to grow as a person, as a host, as a leader, as just everything that God wants for me. And so, um, yeah, enjoyed this interview, enjoyed this, or not interview, conversation. We're relaxing. This is just my birthday. Enjoy it. And be sure to subscribe, share this out, like it, comment. And I'll see you on the other side. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Tamera Nealy Show. Today we have a very special guest who is in high demand. And it's my 22nd birthday. And it's the show's 1 year anniversary. Kimberly was saying before we got on, like, why am I working on my birthday? And I'm like, I love you guys so much. And it's the show's 1 year anniversary, and I want to celebrate it with a special friend. So I want to welcome Kimberly Klacik. Welcome back to the Tamera Nealy Show.
Oh, thank you for having me. And yes, happy birthday to you. And that just shows how truly passionate and genuine you are about all of this to do this on your birthday. And congratulations to the 1 year. I mean, that's a lot. A lot of people don't make it an entire year with their show. So you made an entire year. You should be happy about it.
Oh, thank you. It's been a really good time, and I've learned a lot. You were my second guest on the show. I had Simon Atiba on just like I guess maybe a week before you came on, and I've learned so much just the past year podcasting and getting to know the audience and moving from just Apple and Spotify to moving on YouTube and things like that. So it's honest, and interviewing my own governor. That was really exciting. So it's been a very thrilling year. It hasn't been without its ups and downs, but it's been exciting for sure.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, we're all very proud of you. And to be so far in your career at 22, you have to feel good about that. A lot of us didn't get started, especially in politics, until we were much older. And so for you to be so honed in at such a young age, and honestly, it gives me hope too about the next generation. But the fact that you're able to do this, and so many of you are on the up and coming, we're really, really proud of you guys.
Wow, thank you. And I appreciate your mentorship just the past year. I mean, there's just little subtle things that you've taught me that you probably don't realize you've taught me through just communication when it comes to like texting and things like that, and how to be business minded, business oriented. I mean, you are the real deal. So it's kind of like you have really set a great example.
No, I appreciate that because you're so nice and sweet. And I don't think people realize this. You're so nice and sweet. So you explain everything.
I do.
And you're like, yeah, so this is what we're going to do. Just so you know, I do this. I'm like, no, tell me what I need to know, when I need to know it, when do I need to be there, bada boom, bada bing.
Exactly. You definitely taught me a lot about that, and Simon did as well, because it was so funny. Okay, quick story. Simon Atiba is a mutual friend of ours. We love him very much. He is honestly a blessing.
Yes.
And he's actually the one who taught me how to really what platform to choose for the show, how to record, things like that. He came on just before his interview, and he spent like an hour just going over everything with me. He even stayed like an hour and a half afterwards to make sure we got everything good. Like he really just took care of me and like walked me through all the steps of doing this and helped calm my fears and taught me about humility and how to be on the show and just be relatable and be myself and things like that. And then you came about and taught me about communication and how to really get to the point and tell me a time, Tamera. Like, that's all I'm.
Yeah, because you're writing this whole novel. And I'm like, I don't have time to read this. I love it. I don't have time.
I
And so,
definitely learned that.
yeah. I know, and that's so awesome that you could take like constructive criticism and say, you know what, maybe I do need to shorten this up a bit. Because some people would have been like, well, I just have to explain it so people know. Kim doesn't know how everybody else is, and so no, but you did. And I know even with Simon, it's like when you're so busy and you're like ripping and
Yes.
running, right? And it's like if you text me, of course I'm going to show up every time, but I
Oh,
need you to just tell me what time and where to be, and
yes.
I will be there. And so that's what I was just saying. It's like, look, some of us are just going to show up for you regardless. You don't have to
Right.
explain. We love you and we support you. And so just tell me where I got to be and when I got to be there.
Oh, thank you. And that's really something that I appreciate. And I thank you for saying that. I love you too. Um, it has been like a learning curve for me just because, like, honestly, I am probably the most introverted extrovert that people meet. So I'm extroverted, but I also kind of like am a little bit on the introverted side of the extroverted spectrum. And so sometimes I'm kind of like I was in my shell when I was a kid. Like I was kind of shy.
Yeah.
So it kind of comes off sometimes to people. I remember one person, I told him, I said, I have a podcast and things like that. And he goes, how do you have a podcast? You're so quiet. And I'm like, well, I have one. And
That's rude.
I know it's so rude. I was like, this was when I like first started and I was really kind of still coming into myself a little bit vulnerable. I'm like,
Right.
wow, can't believe you just said that.
Right.
And now I look now and I'm like, hey, I haven't seen that person since, but I'd be like, I've interviewed all these people. I mean, what are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I could see how somebody would say, oh, you're so quiet. But, just so people know, when I first met you in DC, and I tell you this all the time, you made not just my day, not just my week, but you made my year because I was walking into rooms coming off of this, brutal social media battle with Candace Owens. And it was just like, it was so ridiculous, too, that we were even having this fight because it
Yep.
was about nothing and it went nowhere, right? I'm
Mhm.
now running for office. It went absolutely nowhere. But, I don't know why the fight even happened. I'm
Yeah.
still, wondering what the motive was there. But, when I saw you in DC, I was in this room full of people that are, really political bigwigs, right? And they said, oh, Kim, don't forget, you're going to be speaking. You're probably going to go, either first or second. And I wasn't really prepared to walk in front of all these people, not knowing whether or not they were still judging me from this
Mm.
social media battle that had happened a year prior.
Yeah.
And so when I saw you, you were like, Kim, oh my gosh, hey, and you come over and you're like happy to see me. And I'm like, wait, somebody's happy to see me. You're happy to see me. And then you told me, you're like straight up, hey, I saw the fight and I
Mhm.
still love you. And I still
Yeah.
love the fact that you're still going. And you told me, you were like, Kim, people aren't going to be thinking about that. They're going to think about what you did to make a positive impact in this world. And you saying that to me, honestly, gave me so much more confidence and courage in that room that night. Because remember, it was Congressman Byron Donalds. There were all these people there. And I was like, oh, I got to speak in front of all these people. I'm not even ready right now, but I had to do it.
Wow.
And, if I hadn't talked to you before I went to go speak, I probably would have been shaking and so nervous. And I'm glad that I got to talk to you first. And again, I will always thank you for that moment because
Wow.
I needed that conversation at that time.
Mm. Wow. I'm so glad. And it was just, I was honestly surprised to see you because I had been watching you since maybe 2020 when you did your campaign ad. Wasn't it 2020, right?
Yep.
It was 2020, and my mom and I loved you so much, like, and we still love you. And my mom showed me your ad. And so I followed you on social media and I would just be watching you from afar. And little did I know that I would meet you like a couple years later or 2 years later. And I was just, wow, oh my gosh, it's Kimberly Klacik. I mean, and you're so gorgeous online, but
Thank
you
you.
are stunning. Like, I was just so happy to see that you were still active and involved and persevering, and it shows your character. And people have spoken highly of your character I mean, so many people I talk to, and they're like, I love Kimberly Klacik. And so sometimes the enemy tries to come in and get us distracted. but we have to keep our eyes on the prize, because something that I've reflected on the past year is that somebody's waiting on my obedience. Every time I get on, somebody is being touched by this podcast, by this show. It's changing people's lives, their perspectives. And so when I realize it's not about me, it's about serving God and serving other people, it has really helped me see things in a different light and keep me motivated. And I can see that that has also helped you in so many ways. And it's inspiring, because people know your story. They've seen, they've seen you persevere through setbacks and hardships and things like that. And to keep going, and the fact that you handled it so professionally is outstanding, because most people wouldn't have been that professional. But you
Yeah.
kept your composure, you kept yourself together, and that's only made you stronger.
Well, I appreciate that. And trust me,
Mhm.
it was hard to keep my composure.
I know. I know.
It was difficult, but like you said, you got to think about the bigger picture, and the bigger picture really isn't about me or some social media fight.
Mhm.
We got to take back these inner cities and get them on the right track.
Gives me chills every time you talk about the inner cities and what you're doing in Baltimore. And I remember when you first came on the show and how you were just like talking about what was happening in Baltimore at the time. Because if I remember right, unfortunately, I think there was a mass murder at the time, or mass. What was it? Wasn't it a mass murder last summer that happened? That was super tragic. And
Yeah,
you had, what was it?
it was a mass shooting. You're right. That was
Yes.
it must have been the July 2nd Brooklyn Day massacre. It was the largest mass shooting in Baltimore's history. 28
Hmm.
people shot, 2 people dead, so 30 people total. But it wasn't really talked about in the media because it
Hmm.
was like some block party, and there was all these people shooting. There were drive-bys, and in drive-by shootings and mass shootings, in different whether it's like a school or something like that, they're treated differently in the media. So a lot of people
Mm.
didn't actually hear about that shooting, and just everything that was going on with it. And just so you know, they still don't have a suspect behind bars. They don't have anybody. Yeah, they have no idea who shot
Wow.
all these people. There was supposedly more than one person. They've got
Mm.
no one in cuffs.
Mm. That is just terrible. Wow. I'm sorry to hear that for the families too.
Yeah.
No justice. And I watched, like, I think it's called 48 Hours, and there's like a lot of episodes. I think that program should check in on this, and hopefully somebody from that network sees this and is like, we need to investigate, because I guess it's been over 48 hours, but somebody needs to pick up that case.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right. I wish it would get a lot more media or
yeah,
national attention, but
yeah,
unfortunately, in some communities it just doesn't happen.
yeah. Yeah, and you are a light in Baltimore, because I know that there are young girls who look up to you and are like, I want to be Kimberly Klacik when I grow up. How does that feel, knowing that so many people look up to you and admire who you are?
Well, I don't know if they look up to me that much,
No, they do.
but
I'll say it. I
I
look up to
agree.
you.
um, no, but if we can inspire, more young women to get involved in politics, it's a male dominant world, and you
Mhm.
know what? Even though I don't do the whole identity politics thing, I think it does make a difference between men and women.
Yes.
Sometimes men just don't think about some of the things that we as women think about. And when it comes to even passing laws or some of the rights that we have, I mean, think about all this that we're facing now with biological men wanting to be in biological women's sports. And
Mhm.
I see so many men saying, well, I don't see the difference. It should be fine. It's like, well, that's why we need more women speaking up and saying, no, there's a huge difference. This is why, LeBron James isn't playing with women in the WNBA. It's impossible to compete. So,
Mm.
having these female voices in this arena is just so necessary.
It is. It definitely is. And I do think that women have a way about, I think we are gifted at being nurturing and emotionally connecting with people. And so when it comes to politics, if people don't know that you care, then they're not going to care about the issues that you care about. And I think that women are very gifted in showing how much they care, because we tend to be expressive, and, I mean, we're just women, and we just have our own way of communicating and showing that loving side of us. And I think men do a great job too. They just have a different way of going about it. And
Right.
typically are more logical and just, I mean, not to say we're not logical, but they're just more facts based, even though women can be too, but you know what I mean? Just kind of
Yeah.
get to the point. And I think women have a way of coming in and we're just like, okay, guys, you know.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. You are right.
Yeah, so I'm just so proud of you and I'm so grateful. And this has just been a fun year, just reflecting and just kinda I made an episode actually last night, so as soon as it was 12 a.m., I actually turned on the camera and I was like, "I wanna talk to you guys," and I was kinda just saying whatever came to mind, and a word came to my mind, which was soar. I wanna soar this year, and I wanna just reach new heights. Right now, I'm in a place where I'm trying to figure out what's next, because I am about to graduate in May as well. And I haven't figured out, okay, where does God have me going in this next place? And so that's kind of where I am, is just trying to figure out what do I do from where do I go from here?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. No, you're at that turning point for sure.
Yeah.
I guess let me ask you. I mean, are
Mhm.
you looking at some of some of the media networks that are out there, or because I know a lot of people have seen your podcast, and I'm pretty sure they are very impressed with you. And I didn't know whether or not you have sent it out and shopped it around yet.
I have not, and I want to. You
Okay.
know, I'm going to be totally honest. I honestly, when I started this, I guess I wasn't really seeing, I have a hard time seeing what everybody else sees in me. And it's something that I've had to kinda grow into, like, "Okay, hold up. I do media now," and things like I just kinda did it to just I wanted to share my life with friends around the world. That was kinda what I was saying. And my friends and family would tune in, and then it grew to something bigger and beyond me, and I realized I have a gift for this. This is what I'm supposed to do. And so right now I'm in a place where it's like, okay, my family's not in media. I haven't seen this before. Where do I go? How do I do this? And so, yeah, that's I want to, and maybe we can talk about this later off the show, but yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah, I think you should shop it around. And even when you post all your episodes, I would just tag, One America, Newsmax, Fox News. There's no harm in tagging people too. So just think
Yeah.
about doing so, because I really think, especially with some of these streaming networks, I think the way that you do your
Mm.
show, this is how we're probably going to see a lot more coming forward. I know, like Daily
Wow.
Wire, I think Tucker Carlson on X is now doing his show this way. I think this is the new wave, and I think you should be right
Mm.
there on that wave.
Wow, thank you. And I thank God because He has really helped me to see that and to see the value in my work and value in meaningful work. I remember when I first got on, I don't know if you remember, but at the time I was doing a series. I called it like a conservative heart series. And I think you came on to talk about faith, family, community. That's what it
Yeah,
was. And another part of that was meaningful work, which I believe Simon came on to talk about meaningful work. And that's I'm learning that it's important to find something meaningful. If you ever read Ecclesiastics, the book is about King Solomon, and he's reflecting on life, and he's saying things like, um, pleasure's meaningless and things like that. And he talks about finding satisfaction in your own toil is from the hand of God. And so finding something meaningful to do is what we were created for. And
right.
so I think so many people listening, I hope that what you're getting from this is to find something meaningful and go all in. And that's something that this year has taught me with podcasting, is to go all in. Don't be afraid. Don't let your fears control you, because we all have those things that try to hold us back. But it's about facing those. Just like when you were speaking in front of at that event where we met, you faced your fears, you overcame those obstacles, and that is such a blessing. And it just goes to show that when we are willing to face it, it isn't as scary as it seems.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head often. And I think you don't give yourself enough credit. Now, I love the fact that you're very humble, right? I love that part about you. You're so nice and you're so sweet, but you should give yourself much more credit than you do, because, like I said, you're light years ahead of so many. If I was doing what you're doing now at 22, say if this was my life back at 22, oh my gosh, right? Sky's the limit. I would go back to myself and say, wow, girl, you did it. I just think that you have a knack for this. I think you're also one of those people that could do more than one thing. Yeah, you're talking media here, but I saw when you were really, weren't you at the State House at some point in time? And they
Mhm.
were talking about legislation. I mean, some people can't do both. You can do both.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm learning to receive. Thanks.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Okay, awesome. I'm hearing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
You can
hearing
do
you.
both. Yeah. So don't let that, pass you up. The fact that you understand legislation, the fact that you can talk that talk, and you can still come on your podcast, be personable, have the personality. You usually, like I said, you usually see people with just one, right? One. Like, okay, let's
Mm,
say Brett Cooper, who I do like at Daily Wire. Brett Cooper is great on her podcast. Now, could she transfer that and go to the Capitol and start talking to legislators about some of the House bills, the Senate bills? No, but you can. That
mm,
gives you this extra edge. That's where you
mm.
can really, would you say, soar? That's where you're going to
Sure.
soar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. And that's what I needed because when I was talking on, I was doing the video yesterday or this early this morning, that word came to my mind. And that's where I want to soar. I want to try new things and broaden my horizons. Who knows? I may even move out of the state of Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and that could be a possibility. I don't know exactly yet, but I am open to it. And I think that this year has taught me to be open to not limit yourself, not limit God, don't limit what can happen because I remember actually when that I think it might have been the night we met or the day before we met was the first day of CPAC. I can't remember which day it was.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Um but I remember being there and I was really kind of wanting to stay out of politics, I just wanted to be kind of to myself. And I remember hearing this voice say, "If you trust me, I promise I'll provide everything you need." And I promise you that day I met Simon Ativa, I met you,
Yeah.
like all this happened.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was just like, wow, shocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, you got to trust the process and
Mhm.
keep going forward. And trust me, there's days where I'm just kind of like, man, especially with my radio show. I was like, look, I
Yes.
could just put all this running for office aside and just do my radio show, and I was having a lot of fun, making good money. It was, way to be. 9 a.m. to 12 noon. I got to drop my daughter off at school and pick her up in the afternoon and be there, right, all the time for her. And I thought, this is great, and then this seat opened up. We had redistricting, and I said, wow, this is literally what I prayed for, right? I
Mm.
prayed for an opportunity where I could flip a seat in the greater Baltimore region. And here it is right in front of my face. And here I am saying, oh, well, I've got the easy life now. This is great, And so I said, all right, you know what, Kim, you got to take the risk because this
Mm.
is what you've wanted. And if it's presenting itself, it's because somebody heard your prayers,
Mm.
and I'd be damned if I didn't jump on it. So here I
Yes.
am running for office. The radio station, they're like, oh, we're all like crying because we don't want, I don't
Oh,
want to leave, but they said,
wow.
we understand and we get it, and we want you to do well. And they said, even if you don't make it, you can always come back. So that's great too.
No, but you
Yeah,
will. In Jesus' name, we are praying that you
yeah.
make it, and because that is your dream. You want to be on Capitol Hill, you
Yeah,
know?
there's so much to get done. I mean, you see
Oh.
everything that goes on, whether
Mhm.
it's the southern border. Right now, I can tell
Oh,
you one of
Lord.
my biggest issues is
Mhm.
welfare and the way that it currently is. I do believe we need welfare reform. I
Mm.
think we need to put more incentives in front of people to want to go to work, especially those that are able to work. Instead
Mm.
of just giving all of these handouts, and then they could see their true potential and
Mm.
understand what they could be doing in life and the goals that they could reach if they would just get out from underneath some of these government assisted programs. So that's
Wow.
one of my huge issues on my platform that I want to kind of take to the hill. And I think there are people that will agree that we kind of went in the wrong direction there. And so it's going to be a tough battle for sure. And it's not that we're going to just, take the sheet and pull it out the rug out in front of people, but at the same time, we got to take these baby steps because honestly, if you're looking at the budget and what we're doing fiscally on Capitol Hill, the
Mhm.
way it is, it's just not sustainable. And so we got to make some changes.
So what do you think they need? What are you kinda, I don't know if you can share, but what do you think should happen instead? Like, what reform do you wanna do? Like, what do you wanna change exactly within the welfare system to incentivize people to get off welfare?
Yeah, so right now, and this is what I've learned just talking to people in Baltimore City. Right
Mhm,
now, the economy, the way it's kind of set up, and the lack of job opportunities here, I believe if we could really get more opportunities, right, more of
mhm,
the manufacturing jobs, because Baltimore used to be a manufacturing powerhouse. You saw
mm,
that we had the bridge collapse. They're going to be doing so many different things with the Baltimore port, and this is
mhm,
our opportunity really to really do a rebuild, right?
mhm,
So the federal government already said that they're going to help put a bunch of money into this to do the rebuild. Well,
mhm,
here's our opportunity to have economic success using that Baltimore port. We have a
mhm,
$1 billion medical equipment industry, and most of it is overseas. It's time to bring it home. Here in
mm,
Baltimore, we've got Johns Hopkins, we got the University of Maryland Hospital. We've got so many great doctors and surgeons right here in our backyard. You put that equipment industry here also. I mean, sky's the limit. We should be
mm,
exporting most of these things, not importing them. And so when you have that situation where people can really thrive, learn those skills, a lot of them will be trade jobs,
mm,
get them going. Because from what I learned talking to people is they'll say, well, you know, I won't make as much money
mm,
really working in some of these jobs as I'm making by staying home and receiving some of this government assistance. And so it's like,
mm,
okay, so they've got to get past that part of it where it's like, oh, I feel like I make more money sitting on my butt, right? And so if we can
yeah,
provide job opportunities that come with health insurance, right? Real careers. I
mhm,
think we would get much more people with the mindset to go to work, to have that fulfilling life. And if you can
yes,
do that with one generation, you'll see it happen with other generations.
mhm,
Right now in Baltimore City, we have 4 generations living on government assistance in many, many neighborhoods. And
mhm,
part of that is because they don't see the benefit of getting off those programs and going to work themselves. But I think
mm,
we can make that change happen. But it's going to take, it's going to take growing the economy, which a lot of people don't want to really roll up their sleeves and do. But it's going
mhm,
to take growing the economy and making sure they understand that we will be there for the training, we will be there for the skills if they need it, and we will be there to help them throughout. If it's going back to doing basic math and basic reading, well, then guess what? Maybe we got to put some of those programs in place for those adults. I think taxpayers would much more likely pay for educational programs rather than pay for somebody to sit at home.
mm. And, the thing is I read this book called The Conservative Heart, and it's by Arthur C. Brooks. Hopefully, you guys can check it out. And in the book, he talks about how, there was this man who started this program called, Push the Bucket, I think it was,
Okay.
and they would give people assistance, but they would have to work for the assistance. And so they would have to push the bucket, they would have to clean the street, things like that. And what they found is that people actually found satisfaction and joy in doing that and pushing the bucket and actually adding value to their lives and finding purpose through working. And so there is so much fulfillment that we can find when we are actually finding satisfaction in our own toil. And I think that your plans are good. I think that, yes, we need to incentivize people to work through creating more job opportunities. That's
Yeah.
what needs to happen.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
definitely. I've always asked a question. I said, why is it those families that have received food stamps, right, like the
Mhm.
SNAP benefits, they're the same kids that go to school and get the free breakfast and the free lunch. And it's like, well,
Mm.
if their parents are getting the stamps to go buy the food, why aren't they packing a lot? You know what I mean? And it is just, I think, because the parents are just so used to that school system or the government picking up that slack,
Yeah.
where I think if we really push parents to be more involved in their children's lives, I mean, look at the history of education, right? When
Yeah.
parents are involved, kids do well, right? They get
Mhm.
the A, B's, sometimes C's. When they're not involved, they fail. And
Mhm.
so, we really got to get them back involved in those kids' lives. And these little things, I think, will do that.
Mhm. I definitely agree with that. Well, Kimberly, it's been fun. I don't wanna keep you too long. I know you got a busy schedule. So this is the last minute of the show. I do want to give you the opportunity to say just leave our guests with something, whatever's on your mind, and we'll wrap this thing up.
All right. Well, first and foremost, congratulations to you on 1 year. Happy birthday to you. 22. I wish, man, if I was 22. 22 years old. Soak it up and enjoy it. So happy birthday. Congratulations. And then also thank you for having me again and always taking focus on the real issues. As
Mhm.
many people might know, might not. I am running for Congress again. KimKForCongress.com. Like I said, we're in an open seat. The district is about maybe purple, and it's at a point where it can go either Democrat or Republican. And like I
Mm.
said, this is what I've been dreaming for, and it's my district. I live here in Middle River, and so I can't believe it's happened. And so hopefully, with everyone's help, if you want to go on the website, you can sign up to volunteer. Even if you're in Oklahoma, you can phone bank for
Oh,
our campaign in Oklahoma. Right? You can
okay.
call
I'll
people.
make a couple phone calls. I don't
All
mind.
right.
Yeah,
Yes,
I can
there
do
you
that.
go. Yes, you can call and say, hey, get out there and vote for Kim. Our primary is May 14th. And of course, the big day is November 5th. And Tamara, thank you so much again for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for coming on.